are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next, the May 25th meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Sanitary District monthly board meeting, May 25th, 2022. And I'm going to open it up for roll call. Holt Eneker. Present. Chris Yagowski. Present. Tim Warner. Present. Tim Smith. We're all present. So we want to approve the minutes of the last regular board meeting. Can we do these all three together if there's no controversy? Let's just go ahead and approve all three if we can, unless you guys have questions from any of them.
I sent a few corrections, but they have been corrected, and I'll move that we accept minutes as written.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So, for the first public comment, it's going to be anything other than the Long Beach sewer issue. And so what I'm going to ask for is any public comment, any public comment, any public comment. Seeing none, the public commenting period is closed. The next item on the agenda is the Long Beach Sewer Project. We have three resolutions that we're considering today. This is a public hearing, and what I would ask is, because there's a number of people here, if we could please have you stand up, give your name and address, and also we want to limit comments to 3 minutes so we can give everyone who's here an opportunity to speak to the issue. I will also, for the record, state that we're considering 3 issues of supporting what the Long Beach City Council has asked us to, and that's the resolution for rates of town of Long Beach, and also the resolution confirming the declaratory resolution that we considered at our last board meeting. So what we are not going to take public comment on tonight is basically whether or not this project should go forward. That is really a Long Beach issue. It's not our issue as the Michigan City Sanitary District. So
there's actually 2 public hearings, one on the declaratory resolution and one on the rates.
Okay.
But as long as everybody understands, they've been both advertised.
Yeah.
They can speak. I don't know that they have to separate it out.
Yeah, you can speak on both. That's fine. But we're not the governing body that decides whether the sewer happens or not. We're the governing body that's working with Long Beach to secure the funds and also do the project itself and manage the project actually. So that is what our responsibility as a sanitary district is. So we're going to start with the resolution 1453-22. And Jim, how do you want to describe that? How do you want to move forward with that resolution?
Yeah, well,
do we want to take public comment right away, or do you want to just give the title of it, just so we have the... Okay, sorry about that. I know I cut you up.
The resolution that this first public hearing is on is the declaratory resolution of the Sanitary District Board of Commissioners of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, approving of the extension of sewage work service to a portion of the town of Long Beach, Indiana, and all matters related thereto. In essence, this resolution by the board, if approved, to the confirmatory resolution, approves the project moving forward, and with the as President Smith mentioned, the board of the town having approved this and requested the sanitary district to move forward. The sanitary district has a long-standing written agreement with the town that it will proceed with the project, will act in good faith in regards to the project, getting the project done, plus getting the financing for the project. And one of the items that has to be addressed first in regards to obtaining financing through the SRF process in Indiana is for there to be a resolution adopted by this board that approves, in essence, approves the project and the extension of the sewers into Long Beach. And that's what that resolution in summary does. It's obviously a multi-page resolution and is public, so anybody who wants to actually read it can. This matter was advertised in the newspaper for a public hearing for today.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? Any comments?
Can I ask when the Long Beach are going to meet to make their decision if they're going to accept the bid or not?
I
believe it's June 7th.
okay.
7th.
June 7th.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
City council.
That's a city council meeting.
City council, not county.
Okay.
The city
So-
council will not be voting to accept or reject the contract. This board
Yeah.
will award the contract. The question, if there is one still before the town council, is whether it wants to proceed with the project.
Yeah, and Chris is right on that. We're only the body that was responsible for developing the RFP for the bids to come in, which the bids came in, we opened them at our last meeting, and we provided those bids to the city of Long Beach, or the town of Long Beach, for their, their decision-making process, really. So, but, again, I would ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And I think at this point, then I'm going to open it up for public comment. So,
May I ask a question of clarification?
Sure, please stand up and,
Before public comment?
Yeah.
My name is Mike Gorman. I live in Long Beach.
okay.
What's the address?
Mike, can you give me your address too, please?
2313 Lakeshore Drive.
Okay,
You stated that the resolution you're considering in this meeting here is just to consider these preliminary resolutions, the set rates and so forth. Council summarized the resolution. I've not read that. He summarized it. It seemed to say that it is authorizing your proceeding with the project. Is that in the resolution? Because that's contrary to what you said. So I want to understand
fair enough.
who
Yeah.
is authorized. I understand what you're saying about Town of Long Beach, but it's your project. It has to be approved by Long Beach, but it's your project. You're going to construct. Are you authorizing it to proceed at this meeting? And number two is, when does approval for the issuance of the bonds take place? Without any issuance of bonds, there's no project.
Right,
Thank you.
right. So Jim, do you want to answer the issuance bonds?
Yeah, the bonds are being transacted through the Indiana Finance Authority through the SRF, State Revolving Fund Program. The approval for that would be tonight if the board approves the resolution, the confirmatory resolution of the declaratory resolution that I spoke about earlier. If the board also approves the rate resolution, the rates to support this project, because you can't get a bond unless you show the Indiana Finance Authority how it's going to be paid. And the only way this bond is paid, based on all of the documentation and the agreement with the town, with the district, is to be paid through Long Beach and the persons who will be benefiting from this project. So as far as when the bonds will be sold, they typically won't be sold until there's what they call a closing, which isn't scheduled to occur, as I understand it, and that would be maybe, I don't know if Eric knows, but sometime probably near the last week in June, as I understand the current status.
So you just to clarify again,
Sure.
public comment.
Yep.
You will be taking action. Part of what you're doing here will approve moving forward with the project and issuing the bonds, not selling the bonds. I'm talking about the authority to issue the bonds.
Yeah,
yes.
So you are doing that. So you are taking action to move the project.
We are taking action, but what I want to clarify is that it is the town of Long Beach that is making the decision on this. They came to us and they asked to connect to our sewer system. They asked us to do a project analysis, and that was done, I believe, last summer. And so the ultimate governing body that's going to approve this project, and maybe I didn't clarify this with you, is the town of Long Beach. We're just approving our portion of it, which is approving the SRF funds and us moving ahead, so then the bonds can be let, like Jim talked about, and then also so the town of Long Beach can move ahead with whatever they need to move ahead with. And then also our city council is going to be having a public workshop on this, and then they have, Don, can you help me out, please? 2 more readings on this?
Yeah, we have a reading a week from next Tuesday, because we don't have a meeting next Tuesday. And, yeah, we have 2 more readings, so we're talking 3 more weeks.
Okay, thank you.
A month.
Okay.
Just, I wanted to follow up on that clarification of that question and answer you had there. So, just to clarify, you're saying that this Michigan City Sanitary District did not independently determine whether or not there's a public need and benefit for this project. You're solely relying on the town of Long Beach.
No, that's not true.
Could you state your name for?
Matt Deputy, South Bank Legal, representing multiple different homeowners.
There has been no determination yet, because that's part of this confirmatory resolution.
Right, so tonight,
If the board approves the confirmatory resolution, part of it is the board finding that it is a public utility for this project to proceed.
right, so the board is independently determining whether or not there's a public need and a public benefit for the project that Long Beach has proposed you guys build for them.
I don't know what you mean by independently,
Yeah.
but the board is going to be approving or not moving ahead with the project because of it being a public benefit, and then, we have to proceed.
And this is the first confirmatory resolution you guys are passing on this project? You've not passed one prior to this?
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't pass one before you put it out to bid? You didn't find a public need
There
before you
was,
put it out to
there
bid?
was a resolution that was adopted that approved the project and for letting it out to bid. I don't know where.
Not a final confirmatory resolution under the section that this resolution is under, correct?
I don't know.
So
I don't know what
let's,
you're talking
let's,
I was gonna open it.
so no, wait, 1 second, please. Don, did you have something that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I had a question. Why just one bid came back? Is there any reason for that?
Well,
Was there just one company that bid on it and that was the basis of it?
yes, it was advertised. There was a pre-bid meeting at which several contractors appeared. And nobody here, at least on our side, is capable of reading minds to be able to tell you why contractors did not bid. That was a decision for each contractor to make. For whatever reason, only one contractor decided to make a bid. That's why we have one bid. Why there's not more is you'd have to interrogate the contractors.
Just to add a little bit on that, Don, historically, there have been instances where we have had no bids,
Yeah.
along with 1, 2, probably at the most 3 or 4, historically over the last 9 years.
Yeah.
So it probably has to do with size, scope,
We were,
personnel, a number of reasons.
the board was disappointed that we only had one bid too, Don. Like we said, we put it out and we had one company apply, so.
I missed Don's identification. You are.
Oh, I'm Don Trzaskowski, Councilman at Large for the City of Michigan City.
So we're not gonna do round robin here. We're gonna go by public comment. So whoever wants to stand up first and raise their hand, if you guys wanna go first, 3 minutes for each one of the comments that you guys have, please. Yep.
Okay, I am Jim Laughlin, 2811 Lakeshore Drive. I'm also putting words into my husband's mouth, John Lineweber. In opposition to moving forward with the resolutions, I understand the role of the Long Beach Town Council. Been a resident in Long Beach for more than 40 years, and I've seen development that probably shouldn't have taken place. I'm going to hazard a guess that there isn't anybody from the lakeside here to remonstrate against the project. One? Okay. Anyway, it seems to me to not be a fair project, and I want to pat ourselves on the back as good community members, not just NIMBYs. You know, John Lineweber, very influential in bringing back the Friendship Botanic Garden, working on restoring the Barker Mansion. I've been on the Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte that has brought money into Michigan City. I've been a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary helping to have safe boating. And I just want to emphasize that we are not just there because I live on Lakeshore Drive. I'm here because I think it's a really stupid, expensive project. And the community is not for it. They're going to do some more surveys of the community, and that I know we have to work with the town council. But this board can rescind their actions and refuse to move forward, and that's my request. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let him go, and then you next.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Tony Lasuzo, 2024 Lakeshore Drive. I'm the oddball out. So I am not opposed to sewers in Long Beach. I'm for progress. I think that's a good thing, and I'm actually very much an environmentalist. I went to school in Wisconsin, know about lakes, studied a lot of ecology, and understand the impact, even though it may have been overstated by some other people. When I first heard about it, March 20th, 2018, it was going to be a $40 capital charge. Sounds, you know what? That sounds reasonable to me. February 11th, 2020, it went to $130. Still sort of freaked me out a little bit, but I'm like, $130, you know, I support making sure that our Lake Michigan is protected. It's the largest freshwater water source in the United States. And the Great Lakes are the largest continuous shoreline in the United States. So it's very important to me. Then, in May of 2022, the capital charge went to $250. Okay, so that's $40,000 worth of debt for each person on Lakeshore Drive, basically. 43, I think. My car is worth $12,000. Okay, I don't think that $250 per person per month or per house per month is reasonable. I think there's a better way to do it, and I think we all in this room know what it is. It's to do the project in Folsom with the whole town. Then we also have additional expenses. Grinder and pump. The only estimate I've ever received or any help on this, guidance from the town council was in the 2018 one. It said $6 to $10 grand to put in. I'm okay with upgrading my home, that's fine. You also have to install a backup generator, right? Because you're putting in a grinder pump. I got an estimate for that. It's anywhere from $6 to $10 grand. So I'm 20 grand in plus 43 grand in debt for this. So the other issue I have is the bond issue is 13 million. Is there any guarantee that if the expenses of the construction come in over 13 million, the people that are being assessed are not going to have some special assessment where we'll all have to come up with $5 grand at the beginning of the project? So there's right ways to do things and wrong ways to do things, and I think, and I've actually watched a lot of replays of your council and the town council or the city council, very professionally run, very well done. I would like to continue that with the approach to this project. And as an anecdote, I received an email just 2 days ago from our town council president, and it was almost threatening or dismissive. It said, they minimize the hardship to homeowners presently on Pump and Hall. And then in brackets, maybe they'll change their tune when their own systems fail. That is not a discourse that should be applied to getting a town together and doing a project in the right way. I feel we're getting a little bit forced to pay for a lot of money for something that could be done more efficiently. And that's really all. Oh, I'm sorry, the clarification I had, is it officially approved by the town of Long Beach? Have you received that, or are we still waiting for a vote on that?
I think you're still waiting for a vote on
No,
that.
they didn't approve moving ahead with the contract. But I'm aware.
Yeah.
So I haven't been, we're not, we don't attend council.
No, I'm just curious if like you can act without their.
But they can stop the process at any time.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can still.
Until they do, we are required by our agreement with them, which is a written contract, to proceed.
Okay.
So we will continue to proceed, except or unless, your elected representatives tell us not to.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep. So they have the final say on this. It's not our say. We're just approving these, moving ahead.
So thank you.
My name is Bob Rule, R-O-U-L-E-L, live at 2901 Lakeshore Drive. Longtime resident there. First want to say that it may well be that sewers are in the best interest at the end of the day or years down the road. And I know that the council members have put in a lot of hours in trying to develop a good program. At the last meeting we had a week ago at the town center, Chairman LeMay made a statement that the project was approved, not overwhelmingly, but the voters that voted were in favor of the project. However, that survey was taken as a result of the initial financial information that was put out. So the people, the residents of Long Beach, were relying on that information. Then they took a survey. And of course, they relied on that information. Costs have skyrocketed since then, 4 times what the original forecast was. At the meeting, the council could not provide a cap on the expenses. They were asked, no, we can't put a cap. We don't have a cap on it. There is a provision, I believe, in the bid contract for cost overrides, and I think they allow 10%, and from what I've learned, that's paltry on a project like this. They could go well over the 10%. What about work order changes? There's going to be a slew of those on this project. So they can't give us a final cost. It's a projection. And the people that voted for this originally were voted on the $40 a month assessment. They have done a survey since. The cost has skyrocketed. A lot of the residents have been out of the area for the winter, are coming back, and they're getting blasted with this information. It's a shell shock what they're believing they're going to have to pay. And my contention is, if they took another vote now, this thing would not get approved. And they need to do the right thing and do another survey based on the current projected costs with all the items I mentioned. What about the cost overrides? What about the change orders? Is there going to be a cap on the project? You can't just blindly go into this thing and say, whatever it is, you people are going to pay. Boom, 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 as it skyrockets. That's not the right way to approach it. It's not fair. And I just can't see why anybody would go along with this project until they get another reading of the residents. And more importantly, it's already been brought up. The project was originally presented as all of Long Beach. And the people that voted on that survey believed it would be all Long Beach. They did state Lakeshore Drive would be phase 1, but then the rest of Long Beach would come to pass after that. We're learning now there is no second phase. It's just Lakeshore Drive. So we've been getting insufficient information. The council's mentioned they've tried to be transparent. I'm not questioning what they have or have not. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a whole bunch of residents of Long Beach have no idea what's going on, including people on Lakeshore Drive. And this project is being hammered through without full representation of the residents are going to be required to pay for it. And somehow it's got to be stopped, and it's got to be presented to the community before they go forward. It's ridiculous not to do that. It's not fair. They're blindsiding the residents and trying to plunge ahead with the project. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go back over here. He has his hand up, please.
My name is Ed Goslin. I live at 2939 Lakeshore Drive. I did send a letter into Mr. Milatovic as well, and I won't rehash the letter because I'm sure you'll all read it, but I just had really a clarification, and I didn't necessarily want to do it while we were clarifying everything. With the declaratory resolution that you have and the rate, I assume that's based on the $12.9 million bid or the $13 million single bid that we received.
The bid was not 13 million. It was roughly 10 million. There are other costs.
Soft costs, design, engineering.
And there's always, people have mentioned room for, because once you get that dollar amount approved by SRF, you can't go back and say, I want 10% more.
Correct.
That's what's going to be, that would be the amount, 13 millionth amount that would be approved, which is the maximum amount SRF is going to fund. If there was any type of overruns, and I don't know of any reason why there would be anything substantial in this case because of the detailed specifications and plans that were produced, but in any event, it would not come out of the SRF and it would not be, Michigan City.
Correct. You need enough coverage to fund the project, and I understand that, but I suppose what my point is, and it is procedural relating to both what's here today, both the rate resolution and the declaratory resolution. Without a formal resolution from the town of Long Beach to accept that bid, at whatever it came in, but sizing it correctly for the bonds, it's based primarily on that bid, because I assume at least 80-90% of that is going to be made up of that bid. It would seem premature to set these rates, to set what our upper limit is, without understanding that Long Beach has passed a formal resolution saying that they're in fact going to move forward with this bid. And so I would say, just procedurally, that I think this is premature until Long Beach directs you to create these resolutions with that number in mind, so they're correctly sized, so we're not having to redo this down the road should there be a change of thought with respect to Long Beach. I would reiterate some of the other points that the people here made, as well as the fact that I too am not inherently against sewers here, and I'm willing to bear a larger sum. My issue is that we're all led to believe that it was basically going to be something in the range of $40 to $50 a month, which increased. And I just think that given the information and the public hearings and the necessary boxes that were checked in order to get this through was based on what I consider now completely faulty information. And it's not faulting anyone that's worked on this. It's the reality. I just think that the necessary boxes that have been checked need to be unchecked, because procedurally they're all based on information that just wasn't accurate.
Thanks, Ed. Yes.
Hi, Brad Martin, 2039 Lakeshore Drive. We moved here permanently in August of 2020, and I first found out about the sewer project by seeing a flyer on the driveway that said it was maybe $135 assessment. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I moved from Illinois here. My taxes are going to be lower. I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of sewers. But what I don't understand again is how the whole burden can be imposed to back the bonds on 300 people on Lakeshore Drive. I know the gentleman said that.
Have to read out. Sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I know the gentleman said that, the people that are paying for it are the people that are going to benefit by the sewers, but is nobody else going to benefit by protecting our lake? Is it only the 300 homeowners on Lakeshore Drive? I have a perfectly fine working septic system. I'm not benefiting by it. I think the whole town should be sewered. Probably, if you put out more RFPs and not just publication asking for them, reach out to some big contractors, in the Midwest. They can handle the entire project, and maybe Woodruff can. Maybe it brings down the cost for everybody. And if this is slammed through, what happens when they decide to sewer the rest of the community? Are we exempt from paying for that because we don't benefit by it? It's just, there's something inherently wrong with this. And I've been involved in other Illinois politics and all sorts of things, and I really appreciate what everybody's doing, and I think everybody's doing it in good faith. We've got to slow down and do it right. It doesn't make sense to have 300 homeowners pay for something that's gonna benefit the entire town of Long Beach and then some. I mean, let's do it right. Let's do it right once. And also, the lake is receding. I don't know, and I'm not an environmental expert, but I know they test the water all the time. And I don't think there's a real drastic concern now. I don't even think there's any major concern, as long as the people are being pumped and hauled. And I think maybe there was a picture of, one sewer that was going into the lake in 2018 or whatever I saw it. I mean, yeah, that scared the shit out of me. Excuse me. But, slow down.
Yeah, that's all right, that's our business.
I just think we need to slow down. I think there's no dire need. I think there's definitely need, and there will be in the future. But let's make it work for the entire village, and let's let everybody, pay their taxes and pay for it. And to rely, whoever the bond presenters are, to say that, yeah, we got 300 homeowners that are backing it, something's gonna go wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Behind you.
Dan Stuss at 1615 Lakeshore Drive. Couple points, a lot of them have been probably said, but it's hard to hear out here. Number one was the cost of this issue. This thing has gone astronomical, and my gut tells me that it's not the end. Nobody will give us a clear answer as to whether 13 million is the top number. It's not going to be the top number. Secondly, and I believe he mentioned it over here regarding landscaping, or not landscaping, the connection fee. I have a neighbor, I'm ground level, so I'm pretty good, and it won't cost me a whole lot to get in there, but they will be having to do some landscaping. My neighbor next to me is on a hill. His cost to hook up a wall is $30,000. Right now, that's what they're calling for. Plus, the amount of landscaping he's going to have to do might even equal that. And he's not just a simple or a single exemption. This is a lot of people on the Lakeshore Drive side. And finally, one of the questions asked at the meeting was, will the rest of the town be able to hook into Lakeshore Drive? And they indicated no, but to me that seems kind of silly, because last I heard, gravity brings things downhill, and there's a considerable amount of homes uphill from us. So if they do ever re-sewer the whole property, they're going to have to go the other way, which is going to call for more pump or more lift stations than what we ultimately had. And this leads to, let's find somebody that can design a system that will incorporate the whole village in an economical way. Maybe there isn't an economical way. Finally, I said that was my last point, I lied. Finally, we have to research grant money. And 2 or 3 meetings ago, it was asked whether or not grants were applied. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe somebody on the council had the gall to say, that's too much paperwork. That's not too much paperwork. This is costing me $40,000 initially. None of them on there, I don't believe any of them are Lakeshore Drive residents.
One is?
Okay. So the reality is, this hasn't been well thought out. He also pointed out the way the town council president sent this letter out. Everything has like a threatening tone behind it. That's not how we should operate. We should operate collectively. Let's find out what the current mood of this whole project is, and it may be against it. But even if they are against it, let's find a way of moving it forward so we can get sewers for the whole town.
Hi, Abigail Neary, 2019 Lakeshore Drive. I'm actually the head of sustainability for my organization, have a significant background in looking at environmental issues. I understand that we're all concerned about the quality of the water of Lake Michigan, but I've done some research. The EPA tests the water at multiple spots along Lake Michigan at least once a week. And in some places like Sheridan Beach, up to 3 times a week. I looked at the EPA events that have been happening, especially over the last 3 years, because this was the kind of critical juncture. We only had 1 incidence of E. coli levels exceeding safe water levels in last year. In the previous 2 years, we had 0 incidences. Now, if you look at some statistics related to Washington Park in particular, because that's a different testing zone versus...
Can I correct you on that 1 second? It's not the EPA that does the testing, it's the city of Michigan City that does the testing.
Oh, it's available on the EPA beach site, that's
Yes,
why I assumed.
right, but it's Michigan City does the testing.
Okay.
And we go into, I think we just talked about possibly going into Long Beach to do testing as well.
So there is testing in Long Beach, though, that's done as well, that is done by IDEM or EPA, that's located on Beach Guard.
Yep.
But if we looked back from 2005, so if I go all the way back to 2005, and you look at the peak of when there were environmental E. coli incidences, it was right around 2014, which coincides with when we changed over some of the wastewater treatment protocols here in Michigan City. If you look at the average from 2005 to 2022, on average there were 33.5 events of E. coli incidences, higher than the acceptable level at Washington Park. There were 30 in the same time frame in East Chicago. East Chicago is sewer. So when we look at whether or not the sewer is actually contributing to this problem, I think we really need to look closely at what the data is saying, or the septics, I should say, because it's not showing any indication that the septic systems existing in Long Beach are contributing to an increased E. coli problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mary O'Neill, 1532 Lakeshore Drive. My family's been in the construction business for 90-plus years, granted mostly in Chicago, not over here. But several times when there's RFPs, the owners and the bids come in way over. Owners will go back to those same bidders and say, sharpen your pencil and see if there's something you can do. See if you can change some of the conditions. I think one of the conditions was, no building during the summer. Well, who wants to be digging in the winter? I mean, maybe, I just think maybe the whole proposal issue needs to be re-looked at. And then my son, who's still actively involved, he had looked at several of the things and said, is the construction-related contractor cost the same as their general conditions? If so, he said that's 15% of the sewer main and 14% of the lift station, which is very high. So maybe pencils need to be sharpened. Maybe we need to go back to the Department of Health and revisit letting people repair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go next comment?
Sure.
The whole subject of,
What's your name again?
Bob Rule, Robert Rule,
Okay.
R-O-U-L-E, Lake 2901 Lakeshore Drive. When you go back, before, I think, to the best of my knowledge, prior to there being a lot of serious consideration for a sewer project, the Polk County Health Department was still issuing permits for septic systems along Lakeshore Drive. Then we had a bad winter, and there was a situation where I personally saw instances where 3 septic tests fell into the lake. There may have been more, possibly more, I'm not sure. But we're here today because of, at the max, maybe 7 or 8 septics fell or are about to fall in the lake. And my feeling about that is, that's terrible. But those property owners should have done their due diligence. They should have found out the history of the lake, looked at the condition of the lake and its rising levels, and made some other arrangements. I still contend that had they, as a group, gone to the town council or to the town of Long Beach and said, we would do that if we could get permission to put the septics like under our driveways in the front of the house to prevent the ultimate problem. That was never done. I'm not sure it was ever suggested to them. And I even thought at one point, rather than the sewer system cost, get the members of Long Beach to go together and come up with a fund to help these people recloak their septic tanks. It would have been far, far, far less than what this project's going to cost. It would have solved the problem. I, like many other people, I've got a septic system. The house was built in the early 20s, but I had a new septic system put in not even 10 years ago. Works fine. And it's on the hillside. It's not going to contaminate Lake Michigan water. And that's the situation for a lot of these people. They sit there and say, I don't need a sewer. I've got a septic system and it's working well. But having said that, I still think for the long, long term, sewers are probably the answer. But this project's got to start from scratch and see how much support there is in the community. Because I think the support they would indicate before would dissipate with the current cost structures. And somebody else alluded to the fact, nobody's been able to put a cap on this project. So we're sitting on there saying, we don't know where this is gonna go. And you can bet your bottom dollar, we're gonna end up paying for it. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Greg Meyer. I live at 2221 Lakeshore Drive with my wife Leslie. I have the misfortune of having our septic system in the backyard. So I've had 2 contractors come over and they weren't able to give me a price for running the sewer line down the front of our house towards the city sewer. I am wanting to clarify, I know this has been asked a couple different ways, but is there an obligation created for the town of Long Beach if you pass the resolutions tonight? And are there penalties for the town of Long Beach potentially if you pass these resolutions? I've heard that Long Beach can change their mind and tell you to stop working on it. But for your project that you're passing resolutions for, is there an obligation tonight and potential penalties created by you approving these resolutions? Thank you.
No. The answer is no.
When would be the last day Long Beach could give you notice not to continue without obligation or penalties?
That would be the day that the contract, if it was signed with the contractor to implement the project. And then you can put wording in about being able to cancel it, so that, but it would for sure be, you can't cancel it once you closed on the loan with the SRF folk, with the state.
Yeah, and
which
Long
is
Beach-
sometime near the end of June.
And Long Beach executes both those documents?
No, I don't believe that Long Beach will execute. There are likely some documents the state will want Long Beach to execute because Long Beach is paying for this, even though it's going to the sanitary district, but it will not be signing off on the contract. And the contract won't be approved. The project hasn't even been, in theory, been awarded yet, but there's only one contractor, so that's not a mystery. But the contract has not been approved and won't be approved until such time as both this board, if it does, and the city council approve the rates, because the project cannot proceed
The
without
city council of
Michigan City.
Michigan City.
Yeah.
So it's still not clear what Long Beach has to actively do to verify that you're going to go ahead with it.
They have already done that. The town council has notified the district for quite a while now that they want to proceed with this project. And could take all the steps. If, on the other hand, we receive something in writing adopted by the town council, the elected representatives of the citizens of Long Beach, saying they want to stop it.
Prior to
the closing, the award of the contract, which would be almost simultaneous with the closing on the bonds.
And you expect that to happen in June?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Paul Goodrich, 1514 Lakeshore Drive. We purchased our home in 2018, and when we purchased, our septic failed inspection, and we were forced to put in the pump and haul system because the sewers were coming. And now that the sewers may or may not be coming, we want to know if they are not, that we be able to install a new septic in the house.
That's Paul, yeah, that is not our decision on that. That's a county and I believe town of Long Beach. Yeah, so, as far as re-putting septics in, pump and haul, that's all determined by the city of town of Long Beach.
Well, actually, by the county health department.
Yeah, county health department.
Handles all septic issues, and then the state health department is their supervisor, so to speak.
Yeah, we just have a lot of problems with the pump and haul and everything there, so we're in favor of this.
Tom?
Hi, Tom Stevenson, 2515 Lakeshore Drive. I could probably answer that question. Just quickly, a lot of information I was going to present has been already presented, so I'm not going to bore people with that. Basically, the town of Long Beach is, through the the Port County Health Department using the current septic moratorium that justification for pushing the project forward. There's about, for what I understand, 14 houses that are on Pump and Hall, and I think there's about 330 houses in along Lakeshore Drive on north and south side. From what I understand, there has been a new, it was House Bill 1245, now it's the Indiana Code 164125, which goes in effect July 1st of 2022, that the septic systems are allowed to be repaired and replaced based on that time. That's a new law that's in effect through the House Bill 1245, and there's new law. And also, I'm an environmental consultant. I've looked at the data on the EPA website. From the data that shows the septics in Long Beach are not adversely impacting the quality of water in Lake Michigan. And so I know there has been incorrect statements made a number of times to different parties, but so there's no contamination that's seeping into Lake Michigan that is impacting the drinking water of Michigan City, and based on the data that is presented on the EPA website. And then finally, just looking at the tie-in costs of homes to tie into the septic system, we're looking at between $20,000 up to $100,000 of what I've heard from talking to my neighbors as far as the tie-in costs. That's completely cost prohibitive in my opinion. I mean, it's just that, and also you've got the capital costs, and then you also have the usage fee, which is really I have to understand, it's kind of, we do have people that are on fixed income in the neighborhood that are very concerned about this. It's just really terrible situation for a lot of people, and I just think it's really unjust to place the burden on Lakeshore Drive residents that have operating septic systems, and we're looking at about 316 homes and only 14 with pump and haul. And I do feel for pump and haul, but because you can't move forward and based on this law, this current law is in effect July 1st of this year, you can repair or replace the septic system, and then in the LaPorte County cannot deny that repair and replacement. So I think it's really this project, really there's no reason to move forward with this project. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Mike Mormon, 2313 Lakeshore Drive. I'll try not to touch on all the comments that were made already, other than let me just state that the amount of cost put on me is unconscionable, not just unjust, as well as the rest of the residents. I hope to leave my home as something tangible to my kids. I've already warned them that I'll be leaving this debt to them because they'll be paying it in the next 35 years. I won't be paying it. In addition to the 30 grand I was quoted to hook up my house, which I have to pay now. Okay. What's driving this problem? Or this solution by Long Beach? It's no federal mandate. Federal government hasn't said get your septics out. State of Indiana hasn't said get your septics out. County hasn't said get your septics out. What's driving it? We have a problem. We have a handful of homeowners on Lakeshore Drive which need some help. And they should be given help, but not at the expense of a limited group of people on Lakeshore Drive. I live in the town of Long Beach. I could have bought my house anywhere up and down the lake, right? You want to be by a lake, okay? I bought it in Long Beach because I like the community, okay? So I live in the town of Long Beach. I don't live in the town of Lakeshore Drive. I'm being singled out to support an environmental benefit, okay, for the entire town, and I am in favor of sewers at some point also. At every meeting I've attended, and two gentlemen from the town council here will tell you, I've been at most of these meetings when they were in person in the beginning and then on Zoom. I've always said I support a sewer system if everybody shares in it equally. This is the town of Long Beach. You should not do this to this limited group of people. If this is a public benefit, and I'm telling you it's not, if it is a public benefit, you can't put it on a group of private residents. Help those people on the other side of the street. I live on the hillside. What are the alternatives? They always say, what are the alternatives? Okay, sewer the whole town. The town council starts every call they have with us, the last one was on May 16th, by saying, we think at some point the whole town will be sewered. Okay, the guy who does most of the talking on the town council always says, if it was up to me, we'd do the whole town. But we're just gonna do Lakeshore Drive now. Come on, then do the whole town. Make everybody pay and suffer and share in the public benefit. Another alternative, that's an alternative, so the whole town. What's driving this? The moratorium is what's driving this. Okay, and I agree with you, House Bill 1245 is a solution. Town's not acknowledging that, and the council can stand there shaking his head, so that's fine. I think it's a solution, but let's put 1245 on the side. The moratorium is driving this. Who issued the moratorium? The LaPorte County Department of Health. That's an agency. Bring the agency to the table. Negotiate with them. As this gentleman up here said, it'll be a heck of a lot cheaper to just deal with that situation. They pass a moratorium, and the LaPorte County Department of Health passes a moratorium, I think in 2018, for the entire border of Lakeshore, Long Beach. At that time, I believe it was 3 houses that had an issue. So they lop off the whole Lakeshore Drive. That's an overreach, overbearing. What right did they have to do that? That's what this town should be doing, is negotiating with the LaPorte County Department of Health and not putting that down. I urge you not to move forward with these resolutions. I urge you to reject them, put this project back to Long Beach, and if they want to proceed with it, let them consider the alternatives. Thank you for the time.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Martin?
Yes, sure.
What is our timeline on this for approval before we have to make a decision?
Well, there's a schedule in order to be able to have the closing before June 30th, which is the magic date for the pot of money that SRF has advised this project can be funded out of. If it doesn't get closed, the bond on or before, which will be before June 30th, then you'd have to go through the administrative process again of reapplying for a new loan. Depending on how long that takes, you probably will have to rebid. Don't know why anybody thinks the price is going to go down, but and you may not get the money. The SRF is not a guaranteed fund. It's something where you have to demonstrate that there's an environmental benefit that justifies you getting the money. When I say you, in this case, actually Long Beach getting the money, as opposed to any number of other municipalities that apply for that funding, because that funding has about 1% lower interest rate, and that's why it's attractive. There's other reasons as well, but anyway, that's the state's budget year, fiscal year, is July 1 through June 30th. And then each year there's this money comes to the state, so would be a new requirement to start all over again with the administrative process of applying for a new SRF or loan.
So two questions. First one is, what is our drop dead date? Ours. Secondly, is the council still has to approve this, or it's still it's a dead issue, correct?
Correct. The council has approved it. Your approval is needed to get it to the council.
To get it to the council.
Okay. And then the council has to approve it, the rates, and the issuance of the bond. Drop dead date, I'm probably not the right person to ask. That would be one of your consultants. You have a bond counsel that you've retained, and also the financial consultant. But you're looking at some short period. When I say short, sometime prior to or about the middle of June for the council to act, and for the council to act, this board has to act. So, this is your last board meeting scheduled for me, and you're typically meeting on the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is well past any timeline that would allow council approval.
Yeah, we'd have to do a special meeting if that's what you guys would like to do. So why don't we?
I'm looking at maybe, and I'm sorry to interrupt, maybe if the council's meeting the 31st for
They're having a workshop.
a workshop to talk amongst themselves. Maybe we wait for Chris to see what the consensus is.
Can we finish with public comment?
Sure.
And then we can discuss this amongst us?
Sure.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
That's okay.
if we can do that, that would be great. Thank you. Tim?
Tim Anderson, 2961 Lakeshore Drive. I agree with everything that's been said by the remonstrators. I just wanted to clarify, there has never been a referendum. There was a survey in 2018 based on the initial financial projections. So the idea that the residents have affirmed the desire for this project is untrue. I see we have council people from Michigan City. I don't think the Council of Michigan City would put this project on their residents, and I don't expect them to put it on Long Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Barrett Callahan, I'm 2234 Lakeshore Drive. I think I'm clearly in the minority here, but I fully support moving forward with the project. And when I think about the cost, a lot of questions have come up about cost. It would be great, by the way, if the entire town did it, but that's not where we're at right now. The decision is being made about how to fund this, as I understand, right? Not whether to go forward or not, it's how do you fund it? We talk about 2018, right? And the cost then, 5 years later, take a look at the cost of gas and everything else with respect to inflation. If this gets moved a year or 2 years later or 3 years later, I think part of the goal is to kill it, right? So we would have to deal with it. Clearly, that's an option. But if we were to do the project, for anybody to think that the costs are going lower is outrageous, period. So the time to do it is now, or I would say never. So I'm voting for now.
Thank you.
Never, absolutely. Never. All right, so your comments, the whole time, I respect all you as community members, I respect your comments and your beliefs.
Okay.
No issues.
Can I just add?
State your name and address. Name and address.
Jim Laughlin, 2811 Lakeshore Drive. One of the things that didn't come up, and it comes up with this, is the value of real estate. And it is clear that it's going to diminish the value of real estate on the hillside and increase the value of real estate on the lakeside. On the hillside and a bunch of the lakeside, we're on sand. That's not a bad place to have a septic system. Water drains, water, it works. I was on the 39 North Conservancy Board 15 years. We put sewer up 39 because everything was clay. So septic systems backed up after every rain. You know, there are reasons to do sewer systems, but this just isn't one, or the way it's proposed.
Well, can I respond to that?
We're not going to keep going around and around.
Quick question.
So,
But I think did you allude to the fact that only
You gotta state your name and address.
Bob Rule, 2901 Lakeshore Drive. Just a quick response, Jim. Were you referring to the fact that only the people on the lakeside are gonna have to hook up to this thing?
No, I'm just saying, real estate value, will likely increase on the lakeside because they now have a sewer. It doesn't do anything for me, and it probably decreases my real estate value. And now we're not talking hooking up or anything else. It decreases that value, and that's another expense that, I just want to bring that up. That's an expense that hasn't been brought up here.
go ahead, please.
I'm Susan Ziak. I'm at 2537 Lakeshore Drive. The Long Beach Sewer Project needs to be stopped immediately due to the fiscal irresponsibility of the Long Beach Town Council. It is unacceptable to obtain only one exorbitant bid, while the Lakeshore Drive residents will be forced to pay for a $13 million sewer project and be held responsible with tremendously expensive costs to hook up to this disaster. Quotes from Lakeshore Drive homeowners have come in from $15,000 to $200,000 to connect to this system and repair the damage to their property afterwards. This Lakeshore Drive sewer project all started when only a small number of homes solely on the lakeside of Lakeshore Drive had failed seawalls which were constructed incorrectly and incompetently and were built just before the lake's recent high level. The homes were built by Oakley Builders and were approved by the previous Long Beach Town Council. Had the seawalls been built correctly, wrapping around instead of just in front of the home, they wouldn't have failed and washed away the septic systems on the lakeside of Lakeshore Drive. The Lakeshore Drive residents now have this extremely expensive nightmare forced upon them, and we have not been allowed to express our opinion on the cost and scope of this costly project. Due to the lack of competitive bids and the exorbitant cost, this project should be stopped immediately. The only equitable way to follow through with any sewer project is to include all residents of Long Beach to vote on it and participate and share in the total cost.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comment? Tom?
Jen, thanks for your time. Thank everyone for their time. I'm pretty much in total agreement. Oh, my name's Tom Burke. I live 2601 Lakeshore Drive. Lived there for the last 4 years, mostly full-time. I'll be brief. How badly do we need a sewer? I'm hearing that these septic systems are just the bane of civilization. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't quite get it. This little girl, Miss Neary, a little bit ago was speaking of the E. coli levels, something certainly beyond my level of comprehension. But the fact that this town, Long Beach, is not the problem. You know, we got our sand. You know, sand will dissipate. We figured out that solution. I'm just, of course, overwhelmed by the amount of money it's going to cost everybody in this room, whether you're for it or against it. I can go on and on, but anyway, we got to go. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
My name's John Mengel. I live at 1508 Lakeshore Drive. And the only thing I would say is I am not in favor of proceeding ahead as we had planned. My comments have been submitted to you guys via email.
Thanks, John.
I agree with basically everything that's been said, and those comments are incorporated in that email.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other public comment?
I'll make one comment. Matt Deputy from South Bank Legal. Represent multiple different property owners up and down Lakeshore Drive who've asked me to come today. We've submitted a lengthy remonstration along with exhibits that we hope you guys will all review and consider before voting on this matter. I think that you've heard from the residents in the town everything that I would say. There is no environmental harm. There is no public benefit. There is no public use here. There may be a private benefit to 14 homes, or there may be a public benefit to the entire town of Long Beach because it will be environmentally more sound and beautiful. It's certainly not environmental benefits or just this project along Lakeshore Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? One more over here.
Paul Przyblinski, Michigan City Common Council. I live at 1716 Washington Street in Michigan City in the 2nd Ward. And I'm asking the board, go ahead and vote on it. So then the city council, if they got to do and take up the torch, that we can take up the torch. Because I think that these people have told you enough right now to take the vote, that you can feel confident that you're doing the right thing. And Mr. Mengel has already told you that he is not in favor of this project, and I know that he is one of the affected homeowners. My question is this: is there a way under the new legislation that the seawalls can be reestablished wherever they're at, and that I just think that you should go ahead and then we should get into this legislation that was passed to address this issue, because I think it's cheaper for everyone. And even it's better for the ratepayers of the city of Michigan City to also. Thank you.
I can't
All right. One last time, any other public comment?
Anything?
Okay, public comment is closed. So I want to open up the discussion with the board. How would you guys like to proceed? Would you like to vote on this today? Would you like to table it? Would you like to wait till after the Michigan City Council does their public workshop? I'm opening it up to you guys.
When this project first came about, some of us were on the board, some of us were not. And it initially was presented as a absolutely needed, environmentally necessary, and a wanted project. Those of us who couldn't make whatever hearings or whatever went on in Long Beach kind of wish we might have taken the time to go and hear, or at least be a little more informed as to many of your feelings. That, and I'm gracious that this is the process, this is the way it is supposed to work. And I thank each and every one of you for coming and participating, because some of us maybe should have participated a little bit differently than we did up until now. So thank you. And but again, the wanted project of it and the expenses. I recall that when it was initially, when a memorandum of understanding was entered into, you know, the costs have increased tremendously, and it has, on this end, by many of us, been a concern. And I'm gracious that you came and expressed your opinions and your input and your clarifications, and used data, not just information, but data, such as, you know, E. coli not being an issue. And we have people all summer long go along the beachfront and test, and we get that feedback. And that is actual data that measures whether or not there is a long-standing or an active concern. And that was certainly, being a lifelong resident of Michigan City, was my concern, was what it was going to do to our lakefront, to our most important asset here, for not just you, but for all of us. And again, I thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come in here. Thank you.
Chris?
When does Long Beach have their decision whether they're going to accept the bid proposal or not? When is that date?
When's the next Wednesday? Or second to Wednesday? So, I'm Chris Willoughby. I'm town council for the town of Long Beach. The town attorney for the town of Long Beach. I don't want that to be misconstrued, as there's two different versions of the word council. Anything that needs to be done, again, the town, as represented by your attorney, has made a determination to move forward. Anything that needs to be done in addition to decision-wise or feedback that you need from the town council, in my mind, and as we stand here today, would be at the next regular town council meeting, which is the June 13th. Which is a Monday, always the second Monday of the month.
And if we get direction from the town of Long Beach after that meeting of the 13th it's a no-go, it's a no-go, right? No matter what we do now, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Clarification, if you do not proceed today, then there's still time to get to the town council of Long Beach and not have them have the support of this group until there's a lot of clarifications.
That won't work, because it has to go to the city council unless you want, special meeting, which has a certain amount of time that has to be advertised.
So if we waited to have a special meeting after they have their meeting, would that be sufficient time?
The problem is the city council time will run. I don't know when the second council,
a week from Tuesday, right?
the time, there's a schedule that's been put out by your bond council, and I don't have it with me.
I have that.
But there are certain time limits where documentation establishing that the project has been approved and the rates have been approved, that has to get down to the SRF folks prior, so they have a chance to review everything before what they call a pre-closing. Pre-closing is just a meeting of the respective parties to verify that everything is ready to go. Then a week after that is when they have the actual formal closing, which will be, as I understand it, the closing is scheduled according to this for June 28th. The pre-closing is on June 15th, and the council's second reading of the ordinance is on June 7th. So you have to meet and decide what you're going to do before June 7th.
When is the workshop with?
The workshop is May 31st at 4:30 in council chamber.
Pardon me? Okay, thanks, Don.
Could we ask Long Beach if they could have their special meeting themselves, be prior to their normal meeting to move this along? I think there's enough people that are interested in voicing their opinion at their meeting. Sure. And then they can make a decision if we should come back here, and I wouldn't have a problem having a special meeting.
I might say, these opinions have been voiced repeatedly to this town council since 2018, as recently as May 16th. If you want to, you can listen to the Zoom recording from May 16th.
Right.
The gentleman back there will start out by telling you we need to sewer the whole town. We're not going to do that now.
Okay.
And then all the residents.
Public comment has been closed.
I'm sorry.
So this is discussion.
Once you kick it back, they've had definitely.
I understand that, but this is the council.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so thank you.
I appreciate it.
We shared, and I opened it up to everyone here to make their comments. This is a discussion between the board, so please let us discuss it right now. As you can see, we're taking this seriously, and we're not just voting on it. So let us make a decision, please.
Yeah, I would just point out this project's been pending for years.
Yeah.
There has been an election cycle during those years where this project was an issue. So there are obviously vast majority of the people here who are against this project. The current council members were elected.
Let's let Chris, he wanted to.
Oh, Chris wants to talk.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, just to go to that point, as far as this commission, the board is set today, there isn't anything that is required of the town. And in our mind, the resolution was passed long ago. We have the agreement between the two bodies. And so if any actions are taken, up to including not having it, but the public forum is part of what we discuss and is part of that timeline to allow feedback and interaction between the community and the council and the decision.
You never allowed that.
So as we're here today, for you, as a basis to make your informed decision, there is nothing that is required of the town now. And Mr. Gorman is correct that was the reason to have the public forum, to consider, give some feedback, because the updated numbers and post bid. So as we stand here, the town council has made its decision and nothing has changed as far as formal meetings and formal decisions have gone.
You don't have to accept the bid then? That was
the bid. It's your project, and I don't want to speak over and for your attorney. The bid and the acceptance of those are yours.
Right, but if the town decided it didn't want to move ahead,
that's right.
It has the control. This is a town.
Yeah, I mean,
so for instance, if the town council decided that $250 is unconscionable and it shouldn't be done, or we shouldn't do this way, there is an opportunity for the town council to decide not to do it. The bid is yours. I just want to make sure we're using the same lingo and the same term.
I understand that, but I want to make it clear to the public that this project is not ours. We have been asked, and I was on the board in the beginning with this, that you guys came to us and you said there was a need for this. We went ahead and agreed for the study, which I was the one, if you go back in the minutes on it, that basically said, I want the whole town of Long Beach studied because I don't want to have to come back with our system and say, oh gosh, we've got to create a big brand new system to take everyone on in Long Beach. That study was done by Haas.
Yes.
And that's out there in the public that they can take a look at that. So what was represented back to us was this would be the first stage in whatever else you guys were going to do. Let me finish, Chris, please. So I want to make it clear that we're only approving the SRS funds and also the bids to move forward. You guys are approving the project for your community to have sewers.
That's right. And
Okay,
so there's a
thank you.
nuance in there. The ownership in saying it's your project is because the town area that is the subject of this project has been incorporated into the district.
Right.
So when I'm using
Exact-
that
okay.
language to clarify, I absolutely agree, and some of this started way before many of us, maybe not all, were even involved with the original discussions in the early 2000s. So I absolutely agree with you
Thank
that
you.
the reason that you're involved, and because this has had so many versions, and again, this is my experience in this current project, is because this has come very far along the way. This is the farthest it's come to potentially coming to fruition. And so the sanitary district, as well as downstate in the funding, wanted to not only know that this project was viable, but that there was a plan and was it conceivable to expand through the whole town. And those were in fact requirements as part of doing this project. Absolutely mandated by his predecessor, that we want to make sure, or that you, when I say we, that the district wanted to make sure that we weren't starting over every single time and that expansion was possible, and that was mandated, again, as I recall, both from the financing authority as well as this board.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate that clarification.
I would also point out that the SRF has already approved and determined that there is a substantial environmental benefit to this project. So, if you, anyway, I say SRF, IDEM, because they're the ones, they're the environmental consultants for SRF. So.
In fact, I believe it's number 6 on the most recent list of in excess of 40. So it was pretty substantial according to their determination, of which we have nothing to do with.
Okay, thank you. All right, so is there any further discussion from the board? What's the board's pleasure? Well,
as an engineer with 40 years in design of sanitary sewer systems, water mains, and municipal engineering, I think moving it forward from this point and then having Long Beach decide the final number whether we continue is the right move at this time.
any other comments?
There's been some really, if this project goes forward or if it doesn't go forward, there is some very, as Chris hinted towards, that this is the farthest this project has gone along, but there's some valuable engineering and flow estimates and monitoring in the engineering that is extremely beneficial as to whether or not this information continues to accumulate and become something if we don't approve it. If we do approve it, there's different information on the board there that needs to be considered. I'm ready to put it to a vote if you guys are.
Okay. Yep.
Anything additional, Attorney Meyer, that we should
No, I just remind the
consider?
board again, as President Smith has repeatedly stated that this is in essence, a Long Beach project. You have a written agreement with Long Beach that A, Michigan City will not be required to pay any of the costs. B, that you will act in good faith in getting the financing, procuring the financing.
And we have.
So far, we have.
We have and we did.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask for
just so there's no misunderstanding, adopting these resolutions is a requirement to actually obtain, and the council approving the ordinance to obtain the financing. It's to close the loop and meet all the requirements for SRF financing.
Should we, as a board, Mr. President, consider a special meeting to have additional discussions? As Chris was wondering as far as dates, I hate to kick it down the road, especially in lieu of information, that has been brought as far as this project, sincerely being by several unwanted. I know the final decision will come down to us, but the city council. Is that correct?
The city council has to approve the rate resolution, yes.
Correct.
Rate ordinance.
Rate ordinance, yeah.
This, again, this is a Long Beach project. The elected representatives of Long Beach have voted to proceed with it. Under that scenario, because we have that agreement with them, my recommendation is that we keep our word. And I don't see any reason why these folks haven't, if they haven't, or couldn't, if they want to, lobby with their town council members to do what they want to. But, there's, I don't know how many thousand of people live in Long Beach, how many there's 300 or so along the Lakeshore Drive alone. So, that's where the lobbying, in my respective opinion, should take place, because those are the folks, and their decision is what's driving this project forward. Now, yes, if you vote against this resolution, the project's dead.
One last question, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to bet.
I'm just trying to get my handle on this. So basically, you said the council or the Long Beach Council has approved the bid?
No. The bid
They still have to approve the bid somehow, some way. They have to have a meeting.
Well, they have to, if they don't want to proceed, then they have to let us know. If they don't say anything, then we're going to proceed down the road with the board voting to award the contract, to award the bid, and then voting to approve a contract.
But we're not voting today to award the bid, though.
No.
Right.
No, that will not occur.
I just wanted to clarify that for the public.
Yeah, no, that won't really occur until after we know that there's, you can award the bid without there being money available, but you can't award the contract unless you've got the money's available, which would be when the SRF loan is all but closed.
So there's various stages that still have to happen with this.
Oh, sure.
So
can I ask Chris?
Sure.
Personally, as our attorney, are you going to have a meeting to have the whole council vote on accepting this dollar amount on the bid? Is that the next step of yours?
The reason they had the public forum was to consider and inform the public as advertised. As we stand here today, I am not aware of any further decision that needs to be made from them. I mean, Mr. Meyer summed it up. The project has been approved long ago and voted, pending them stopping it somewhere in the process, or you stopping it somewhere in the process, and that's where it stands. There isn't anything, as I stand here today, contemplated. The process, the timeline has been laid out by bond counsel. That's been shared with those that are interested, and especially attorneys that are involved, with the idea of making sure everybody's informed. So that process, it certainly is a heavy weight for those that are appointed and elected, and that part I'm sure nobody envies decisions. But as I sit here to answer your question directly, there isn't anything that is required or contemplated. There is another meeting, there is another opportunity that if the town council somehow decides they don't want to go forward with this project. But if this isn't approved, we do have an agreement between us that probably certain implications with regard to that, and it stops the process, so.
Is there no concern on your part as a legal mind?
Please, wait, please.
That the information they want to pass on.
We're past public comment,
Talk
and
to
yes,
outside the room.
Gotcha.
yes, this is our forum right now, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so, I'm gonna ask you guys for either a motion to approve the first resolution, declaratory resolution of 2020.
The confirmatory resolution, which is 145522.
Okay. It's a
I confirm the
declaratory
declaratory
resolution.
resolution.
Yeah, okay. Confirming the declaratory resolution of 1453-22. I'm going to look for a motion, or I'm going to look for a motion from someone to do something else.
This is 1453-22, correct?
Yes, sir.
The resolution you're voting on is 145522.
55-22. All right, sorry.
Confirmed is
Okay.
145322.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
I was confused.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
That's all right.
All right. Well, I will move to approve Resolution 1455-22, resolution confirming declaratory resolution number 1453-22. Correct?
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
Do I have a second? I'm looking for a second.
You can if you want.
Well, I'm going to move it forward for a vote, so I will second it. I'm going to do a roll call. Holt?
I'm a nay.
Okay. Chris?
Nay.
Tim?
Aye.
And I'm going to be an aye.
Okay, but a tie,
Right, it doesn't work,
correct. The resolution has not passed.
so it hasn't passed.
Has-
All right, so what I'm going to ask for is a special meeting from us, because I think that we need to do a special meeting before anything is passed. And I would suggest that we do that special meeting after the council has had their workshop, which their workshop done is May 31st, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
4:30.
So we would be able to do a special meeting, Jim, the 2nd or 3rd of June. Would you guys be able to look at your calendars, please? Good. All right, and so that's the chairman's prerogative, so that's what we will do. And then we will we'll reconsider at that special meeting. And so we'll set that special meeting then for, I would say, June 2nd, if that works for everyone.
Special or executive meeting?
Special.
It would be a special meeting.
What's the purpose of that meeting?
To reconsider the resolutions after the city council has had their workshop.
Are there not notice requirements on solicitation for that meeting?
That's why we're setting it today, so we can put out the notice. It's 48 hours.
As a point of clarification, is this public hearing being continued then? So in terms of publication for newspaper purposes,
No,
Just want to clarify.
public hearing was held today.
Yeah, this is gonna be in,
Just want to make sure I clarify.
On the declaratory resolution, not.
yeah. We can't vote on something if it's an executive board.
No,
So it has to be a
there's no
special.
basis for an executive session.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, for the folks that are here this evening from Long Beach, the council workshop, which is going to be on May 31st at City Hall, in the council chambers, it'll be at 4:30. And you're more than welcome to come down there and express your opinions also, so that the city council gets a feel for what they're dealing with.
What is the purpose of the city council? What are you going to accomplish regarding this project?
Well, what we have to do is whether we want to, depending on how the other council members feel, is we have to vote on the bonding and the rate increase.
They rejected the rate increase. The rate can't.
No.
Well,
We didn't take a vote on it. We didn't reject it because we didn't.
We tabled it.
We tabled it because.
It didn't get tabled.
We didn't table the rate resolution.
Yeah.
The rate resolution, we'll have to have a public hearing because that's what was advertised.
All right, so we have to have the rate hearing too.
So anyway, I'm just saying, for the city council meeting, for the workshop, you're more than welcome to come and express your opinions and give the city council members
Ours?
insight
Yeah, it'll be
on
4
what's
o'clock.
going on in Long Beach. We don't live there, we don't live this day to day like you folks do, and I was first made aware of this 3 weeks ago, and I'm just trying to gather all the information, just like my brother Paul is trying to gather all the information we can to participate in meetings and see how people feel about it. Yeah.
Just a point of clarification. There was a vote and a second. A motion, a second, and then 2 votes no, 2 votes yes, so it failed.
No, it doesn't pass this.
Doesn't pass
So
at this point.
so you're going to have a new vote on the same confirmatory declaration, and
Yes.
that's what you're setting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Because
As long as one of the nay voters says they want to change their vote,
yeah.
and 2 yes, otherwise there won't be any vote.
Or one of the yay voters changes.
Yeah.
Well, the yay vote, then there's nothing to do.
And we'll just consider it at that meeting on the 2nd if someone wants to change the vote.
From a procedural point of view, does it have to be approved here before it goes to the common council?
No, is that
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
before it can be approved by the common council?
So they're going to debate it without even having a recommendation from this committee? I'm just curious, because the procedure was laid out pretty well in that thing, and it followed along, and now we're flipping the pre-approval to the council. If that's
I'm not an expert on Robert's Rules of Order, but we're having a workshop to listen to the public and what they have to say. There may be some discussion back and forth, but we're not going to debate it like we would at a city council meeting and take a vote on it.
So there wouldn't be any voting?
Yeah, no voting at the workshop.
One more question, will there be a consideration to maybe have this at City Hall if that's possible, size-wise?
Well, we gotta have the public hearings today here, because they were advertised for here.
Yes.
So, I guess you'd call it a postponement or a continuation of this meeting to the 2nd of June could be one someplace someplace else, but we'd have to make that clear in the notice about the special meeting.
All right. So we have to,
I just have a question about Linda Dorman, 2313 Lakeshore Drive. I just have a question about what happened here. I've been to many council meetings, both here and other places, and when it's 2 and 2, it's usually then done. It's moot, it's done with. Okay, so what just happened here? Could you explain it to me?
Jim. could you explain, we're down?
Well,
It could play a role,
it's
which,
been turned down, so to speak, but it's subject to being reconsidered based on somebody who voted no, saying they want to change their vote.
How many times then can you do this and change it? and get-
It's our prerogative that we want to do, and I see that there's a lot of confusion here and a lot of discussion that we want to take on this because we want to consider it seriously. So basically, I'm not going to take any more public comment on this today. Basically, if you guys want to come on June the 2nd, you guys know that we're going to be meeting again. We'll try to move the venue so everyone can fit into the room, but we also want to listen to our city council as well and hear their viewpoints and hear what they want to say on this. So, and that's the chairman's right, that I can bring it up again. So that's what I'm doing. I see that on the board members that there's some questions, and we need to talk about this, and we haven't had that opportunity, so that's what we need to do.
Again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need to consider the other resolution, correct, today?
Yes,
Public
you
hearing?
need to have the public hearing on the rates, proposed rates.
Okay. So, we will have public comment on the rates. I think that there's been a lot said on the rates, but I'm going to open up this as well, that we can hear on Resolution 1454-22, the rates of the town of Long Beach. So I would ask, please, to hold your comments to the rate resolution, and I think we've pretty much vetted everything else for right now. So I'm going to ask for public comment. Public comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm probably as confused as a lot of people here. On the rate, it is, well, I don't think it's fair. Jim Laughlin, 2011.
And we're not trying to be hard on you.
No.
IDEM requires, and that requires that we have the names and addresses of everybody.
That's good.
Okay.
So again, people have stated they feel that rate is not fair because it's just long Lakeshore Drive and beneficial more to the lakeside. And I think, I don't know where the town council comes in that, but if you start kind of thinking the tax base, maybe those people have some more influence on the council because taxes are really high on that side of the lake. Mine are reasonably high, but I believe in paying taxes. So I think that the rate is not fair. It's benefits some a great deal more and hurts others.
Go ahead.
Ed Goslin, 2939 Lakeshore Drive. Again, I would just reiterate the point that this $13 million bid has been the basis for the rates that are contained in this resolution. It is not, at least as I understand it, been formally accepted, that number, that bid by town council. I'll also say that the public hearing held at May 16th that was referenced by Mr. Willoughby is giving the opportunity for residents to be heard. We received notice of that rate via the website just 6 hours before that meeting. We had absolutely no clue it was going to come in at $13 million. And then we're there within 6 hours to have to speak our mind with respect to that. Some people didn't even understand it at that point.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any public comment? Public comment is closed. Okay, gentlemen.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this until the June 2nd date also.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, so
There's another resolution, of course, approving the issuance of the bond, but
I think we gotta wait
considering the
till.
court of status, yeah, we recommended somebody move to table that until June 2nd.
What time on June 2nd?
Before 4 o'clock.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
He beat you. He beat you.
The chairman's proud. All right, so the item 5 on our agenda is closed for today. So thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but I assume you guys want to.
It's very exciting.
Yes, sir.
I wish you were.
Sure. Yeah, let's,
I think it is.
let's go ahead and take a break for about 5 minutes.
We just have to get through the comments
Yeah, so.
Yes.
before.
We're gonna reconvene our meeting of Wednesday, and I'm gonna let you come up.
Okay.
And
I apologize for not understanding. I thought I was supposed to not say anything until after the Long Beach thing was done with.
No, we're a gentleman.
So
Yes, you
I
are.
misunderstood, and I didn't want to get in. That's okay, to be honest with you. So on this, basically what I'm showing you, and I was just made aware that there may be some grant funds that could be appropriated for this. But if you look at the large map in the center, on the back page, you'll see the island in blue, which is the island of no man's land, which means that none of us have ever been given septic in the middle of Michigan City.
You mean sewer?
Sewer, I'm sorry, sewer in Michigan City. We have septic, but now the septic's been closed on the building next to me and condemned, and so we now have nothing there. So Michigan City Animal Hospital, when we put our addition on in 2023, we put in a pump and grinder system, and we went over behind the building, which used to be, I don't even know what it is now, but it used to be the Michigan Township Trustees building. So we had to go down Michigan Boulevard back there, and so we still have a pump and grinder system, which is ongoing maintenance and so forth. And that's the only reason we have sewer there. This page, the second page, which has highlighted, is kind of like showing my complaints about what I've had to deal with over the years, because I had to have water brought across the street, I had to put a pump and grinder system in, and I don't know if some of the gentlemen here, I had to do with the storm sewer that went into my property that isn't on any city map that I had to pay for it being rerouted and redone, because it didn't exist on a city map, even though it was a city storm sewer. So I had to pay for that to be done. But my request is to consider bringing sewer to this island in the middle of town. And you can see on the large map, there's sewers everywhere around us except for us. And so the building next to me, I purchased it, but I was also told that in 2020, there was a $42,000 bid for just engineering alone, let alone tying into the sewer. That was the engineering prior to the cost of tying into the sewer. So I don't think there's any way that, if that holds up and that's what I have to do, I'll just tear the building down and leave it set empty. And another business on Michigan Boulevard will be torn down.
The building is on the east or west side of you?
The building's on the east of me, yep.
Okay.
Is that the old Sentinel
It's the old Sentinel alarm.
Okay.
And I know, in fact, that Paul Linsky tried to get tied into the sewer years ago when he was there and wasn't able to get it done. And there's been 2 owners since that time. And I'm going to say Mike because I mess up your last name so bad.
Mike is good.
Okay. I talked to you, and I know you said it has been on proposed on previous sewer projects that this be supplied, and it just never has come through. So this is, I don't know how, there was 3 restaurants in that building on the corner and never had sewer, and there was a car wash here that never had sewer, and all this stuff. I don't know how that happened, but I'm requesting that some way we find some way to get sewer to these areas, and if the grant is something that we can propose. I've already been told that probably the county's not going to let me put a septic back in there, and there's no way I can justify, with the work this building needs done, paying $100,000 for just tying into the sewer. It just makes no sense. And the same thing's going to happen with these other 4. I don't know if you know these residents, but I don't think any of those houses are over $100,000 houses. If they got to pay $100,000 to tie into the sewer, they're all going to get abandoned as well. So it's
in my own mind, it's unthinkable that this island doesn't have any option at this point in time. So I wrote up a letter, kind of gave you a summary of exactly where it lays, and I don't know if anybody has any questions for me about it. I was told that my best chance of getting something approved, even before this grant money came up, that was to come to you guys, and maybe there'd be some way that you could approve some money or a project or something to get this taken care of.
So there was grant money on this?
Well, there's no grant money on this that I was told today.
Not yet, Tim. Mike and I learned about this when we went to Peru over the Brownfields grant award that we got.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You guys approved SWIFT grants last year.
Yep, remember that.
This is a type of SWIFT grant money that is available. Doesn't mean you're automatically going to get it. You got to apply for it, demonstrate, that you need it. This, as pointed out by Steve, this happens to be in a census tract that is below 40. The magic number for assessor money through the PIL is 45,000, and for the MHI, and this is below that. So in theory, we should qualify. This project should qualify for SWIFT. Now, just like any other grant, you don't know for sure you got it until they sign the paperwork giving you the grant.
That's Cheney Run storm sewer running through there, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, no capacity issues, nothing like that.
I don't know, I see a 15-inch, I don't know if Steve or Mike, if you guys have evaluated the capacity of what appears to be a 15-inch sanitary sewer.
The one just east of the old Riley School, is that what you're talking about, Jim?
Jim, I think it was in 2018, John Doyle gave us an estimate to engineer a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, he did, but
I have a copy.
we should know our,
I think that's attached to Nick.
what our capacity of our sewer.
Okay, which one do you have?
Yeah, that's it.
So is there a capacity issue in consideration of this?
There's none that I know of, and this would be something that Mr. Doyle would look at with the solution.
And that's where we have the letter on 2020.
Right, there was a proposition. At that time, there wasn't any grant money reasonably available, so it was thought that the expenditure, the cost was more than the benefit, since it was only going to benefit a few. There's other projects in the city that, would benefit more people. But if it can be done with free money.
Well, I think we go for it, and we try to get it, and we support these homes, because, I certainly don't want, homes abandoned. We have enough homes, in Michigan City that are that way right now. So I would say, do we need a motion to look into this, or do we direct staff, or what do we do?
Tell Mike that he should.
So I'd like to, if it's okay with you guys, just.
At some point, you're gonna have to pass a resolution approving the application.
Yeah.
So today, it's just informal.
Yeah.
And, getting a feel for
Dr. Bailey.
So our next step would be, sorry.
Go ahead.
Our next step would be to,
Next step would be for staff or consultant to apply for the loan. It's not a loan, I'm sorry, apply for a grant. Once that gets done, documentation wise, and I don't know how much work that is, but then that would be presented to the board with a resolution for the board to approve applying for that grant. I don't know if there's a match, I don't know any of the.
that will come later, and we can consider that.
Yeah, the state itself hasn't received guidance from above, so to speak, on all of the terms and conditions that have to apply to this money.
Yes, excuse me, but of a potential property abandonment of, property, regardless of the value of the properties, are still.
I agree with that.
Properties
and even if they abandon them, tear them down, then we're still gonna have to put a sewer in there for something else.
Something wants to develop.
Yeah, so I think and appreciate you bringing this forward, Dr. Bailey.
Where have you been for years? You should be.
We're actually reasonable.
Yeah.
We really care, that's why we do this.
So, all right, I appreciate it, appreciate you guys hearing me, and then I'll wait for.
So, if you just work, Steve, who, you or Mike would take lead on this?
Yes.
Who?
Well,
Who?
Steve.
Thank you.
Mike just said it'd be Steve.
So, Dr. Bailey, Steve, can I say that you'd be the contact person for Dr. Bailey?
yes, sir, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think I have a card, actually. If you don't, I'll give you another. I think I have it stamped. I have it stapled to your application first.
Good. All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Take care.
Thanks for
All right.
your service.
Dan?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Safety report, health and safety report for May in the month of April. The refuse department had one reportable injury. The water reclamation department did not have any during the month. So good progress that we're making in that regard. And in the refuse case, the individual fell while he was trying to remove a set of box springs that was wedged into a fence, and then as he pulled on it, it broke free and he tripped over a garbage bag that was behind him and fell. So he did suffer some back injury, and also he was on concussion protocol for a period of time because he struck his head. And he's doing quite well right now, and he should be back to work very soon. Well, he is on restricted work activities. He's not away from work, so he should be back to full duty shortly. If you have any questions on it, I'd be happy to answer those. Any questions you have on that particular section. Moving down to the RMP, Risk Management Program, and the Process Safety Management section. We're moving along quite well in the action items that we spoke about in the previous two meetings, and getting a number of those completed. We did have one very minor chlorine gas release that was fully contained in the gas storage room. Basically what occurred as the two mechanics were hooking up a new container, a valve had leaked, and when it leaked, the head mechanic immediately shut in the valve. So this is a result of their skill, experience, knowledge, the training they've had, and a rigor to what I call operational discipline of following a set of procedures very precisely. And so there was no injury. There was really no harm to the environment. And so we did have some excellent learnings that are actually reported in this section of the monthly report. Are there any questions related to that? That issue has been resolved, by the way. We have 7 other activities for the month that were completed by the district. One of note is that we continue to work with the Michigan City Fire Department with their training officer, Will Sontag, who's been extremely helpful in helping us develop our emergency action plan for CNG type vehicle fires. So with all the alternate fuels that we have nowadays, everything from batteries to, in the future, it could be liquefied natural gas, it'll be hydrogen. So it gets very complex for the fire department on how to handle an accident scene that involves one of these vehicles. So we've worked very closely with them on what is it the refuse department needs to do in securing a garbage truck.
if such an event happens? And then what does the fire department need to know about CNG trucks that are different from diesel trucks? So much progress on that training will, proceed in the month of June.
What's usually the protocol of putting a fire out like that?
If it's a fire, and if it's a fire that we want to get as much, if it's in the hopper, there are three areas. It could be an engine compartment fire, it could be a fire in a cab, and it could be a fire in the body or the hopper. And so basically what we've instructed our employees to do, if it's the most serious event would be if it's a fire in the hopper. And we have told them to go to an area that's safe and as safe as possible and eject the load onto the pavement.
Okay.
And so that way we protect the employees. We actually get it to where if the fire is in the rubbish, then it could be much easier extinguished, outside of the hopper.
Okay.
So that's essentially it. Cab fire, fire extinguisher, things like that. Engine fire, same type thing. They're emergency shutoffs that they would activate and like.
Okay.
So very good discussion. So what that does, it makes it a safer response for the fire department and for the public by putting the refuse on the ground. And also we minimize damage to a $250,000 refuge truck.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. Any questions from any commissioners?
Just your inclusion on, the incident descriptions, the factors contributing to incidents, and very grateful for your preventative measures that you're putting in your reports to let us know that you've just taken all kinds of proper activity, not just with the person or the actual incident, but the employees in general.
That's right.
Prevention of incidents as happening in the future. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's kudos to Mike and all the individuals in the district. Just excellent cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Scott?
You got two bids, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have the bid,
Yes, sir.
opening bids on quotes for US Highway 12 and Custer Avenue Stormwater Drainage Improvement Project is the first one.
Can I open the,
Da-da-da. Oh, the knife. You've got the knife. Where'd you find the knife? Be careful.
Oh, there, now he's got it all the way out.
Dan, we may need you up here.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
oh,
Is he opening that correctly?
I was cut away.
Cut away towards the lawyer.
You have gloves?
I noticed that's what he's doing.
Wow, that was good.
I like that was really good too. Being married to a lawyer, I get those a lot.
Mr. Meyer, if you would, please.
I'm not at a Staples. Good. See attached.
We may have to dispatch Dan outside there. We may have to dispatch you up there. Safety zone.
Exclusion zone.
Yeah.
The bid is the amount of $561,150, and it is made by HRP Construction Incorporated.
Is there another bid on that specific one?
Only one bid.
Oh, we got one on each shop.
Okay, so I will ask for the commissioners to let staff review and bring a recommendation back to us.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. All right,
You're welcome.
let's go to the lining 1100 block of Earl Road, alley sewer.
Yes, sir. Cutting away.
Hardtip's attorney. He does it, Jim.
Yeah, I did.
I like that.
Be careful, Jim.
I hold Attorney Meyer in the highest esteem. Just want to comment, note that the bids are dated and time stamped.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
Thanks, Steve.
You just sent your pictures.
It says quote sheet, but I don't see a quote.
So
anticlimactic.
Does that mean they want to do it for free?
Nope, no,
I don't think so. Well, he just found it.
no.
Yeah, that's it, that's what you're looking at.
Okay, what's the quote part?
The mob and demob is 7,500.
I know, but what's the total quote?
I
Can add that up.
this after the due time, and I estimate that it's gonna be $41,450. And I would also point out that
Who's the bidder? I mean, the quote.
Skuta, S-K-U-T-A Construction Incorporated out of Marion, Illinois.
Yeah, it's the same outfit that did a successful job for us on Russell Street election.
Okay.
And I would also point out that Sherry Wilson, the Community Development Block Grant Director, has pledged up to $100,000 for that work, so that's free work for the sanitary district.
Okay.
Did our bid for quote form not have a line item for the quote?
It could have been better.
Well, I'm going to ask again for the board to let staff look at the bid and make a recommendation back to us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? All ayes. All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Or good evening.
Yeah, now, evening, so. I'll start by reading the cash balances. The operating fund had $1,035,803.44. The municipal account in operating had $1,005.13. The improvement fund had $902,296.47. Vehicle replacement had $114,464.04. Equipment replacement had $628,745.26. The operating grant fund had no balance, and the total for the Horizon bank accounts associated with the operating funds was $2,682,314.34. The SRF Indian Springs project had $6,458.32, and the SRF Whippoorwill project had $338.88 for a total on that bank account of $6,797.20. The SRF debt reserve had $499,689.29, and the SRF bond and interest had $129,650.75 for a total at BNY Mellon of $629,340.04. the tax levy cash accounts. Stormwater had $674,113.80. The refuse municipal account had $10.40. The refuse account had $872,696.03. Special revenue had $3,203.79. The levy excess fund had $8,522.14. And the tax levy grant fund had $137,726.54. The rainy day fund had no balance, for a total in that bank account of $1,696,272.70. And that would give a subtotal before the Carwick remediation fund of $5,014,724.28. The Carwick remediation account had $223,002.80 for total cash balances of $5,237,727.08. So, just a couple comments on it. The operating fund is down a little bit, and most of that is, we've paid for most of the Long Beach design. The Haas work, I'm designing the sewers for Long Beach, and at the start of this project, we thought SRF, when that funding went through, we would be reimbursed that a month. I believe there's something would happen with that project. We still have other mechanisms to get paid that money that we've paid. Now, we paid 75%.
Depends on why we don't get the money.
Right.
If we caused the failure to obtain the SRF money,
We're out.
then yes, we violated the agreement with the town. If it's not, if we don't do anything that stops it, then they owe us the money. And they'd have to pay it out of their general fund or.
And can you tell me how much that is?
Our share is like $298,000, and that represents 75% of the total design costs. Haas is the other 25%. There's been a total of roughly $400,000 spent on design for the Long Beach project. And we struck a deal with Tim that, we would pay 75. At one time we paid 50, but we paid 75 and he paid 25.
Okay.
So, but that's really the big difference in the operating cash balances. And then the other balances, stormwater in the tax levy funds, both stormwater and the refuse account are, much better than last year. And some of that is stormwater gets paid in June and December. So, but I would expect we'll also get the spring tax settlement in June. So we'll probably be back to where we started the year in December at the end of June. And really, the rest are just the normal monthly transfers.
Okay. Thank you.
And then I put in the budget performance reports for the three main funds. The operating fund is a collection of 8 departments, but I just summarized it for you guys. And if you go to the last page of all these and look at the total expenses and revenue, I ran this report as of the end of April 30th, so you'd expect it to be 1/3. We're at 32% expense and 32% revenue, so we're pretty much right on budget on the operating fund. And then the next one I put in there is the refuse fund, and it's a similar story if you go to the last page. Well, this one's a little different because the revenue totals, once again, we don't get the tax settlement until June.
Yeah.
So we really haven't collected any money, but the expenses are at like 29%, so it's pretty close to what you'd expect for a third. And then stormwater, I put it in here, really not much happens except June and December, just so you know. Yeah. So, and really that's all I have for tonight, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions from any of the board? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's go to the organizational chart update. Mike, do you wanna,
Yes, I believe that is
you got it in your packet, guys?
principally pertaining to the refuge department, I think.
Okay.
We've changed the position, or added a position of an additional foreman for refuse.
So that's a superintendent,
refuse foreman.
Okay, refuge foreman, all right.
And that's really the only change, I believe.
All right. Jim, do we have to vote on this?
Yes,
Yeah.
but before you do, I don't see any position here that has to do with human resources. So you have to have somebody responsible, even if it's somebody you're contracted with.
Well, we have
For human resources, that has to show up on your flow chart, and that flow chart can show it reporting to you or anybody else, but it also has to have a dotted line to the board. And
That
the
was an
safety
oversight.
manager should also have a dotted line to the board.
Okay.
For OSHA.
Yeah. So,
Maybe
Other than that-
modify that and resubmit it for approval.
and is Rachel?
Yes.
HR? Okay, all right, so we should have her on here as the HR.
So we'll modify the chart to correctly reflect the positions.
Okay.
Can we have it by our meeting June 2nd? Can we approve it then?
Yes.
That work for you? I know, I didn't mean to step on the toes, sorry.
Well, you are starting to, crack my
Well,
style.
you're the one that kept pushing me up there.
I wanted to elevate my fellow board members.
Thank you so much.
Mike, did you explain the org chart, or you want me to do that?
Well, we just,
We already
did
just
some,
did that.
but apparently there are some adjustments that have to be made or corrections in the dotted lines and how they correlate to the board. So
Dotted line for the for safety
Up
manager.
to the board. They just add HR.
And then
An HR with a solid line to whoever your actual general manager, or whoever, and then a dotted line from
to the board.
HR to the board.
Yeah.
Where is HR?
It's not on there. That was the issue. She's right there.
Yeah.
Speaking quietly in the corner.
Human resources person that was gonna work with Andrea originally.
Okay, so we've got HR going where?
It's gotta connect to the general manager most likely.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, we're not gonna do it right now.
Yeah, we'll just,
We'll submit it for the next special board meeting.
Okay,
I'll get with you tomorrow.
the crux of the matter was adding a refuse foreman, was that
I
discussed?
did address that, yes.
Yeah, we get all that covered.
Too, yeah.
So we'll go back and approve it, as Tim Warner said, on the June 2nd meeting.
Sorry.
Thanks. Thank you.
If you know, does the rate, salary resolution, wage resolution, identify the number of positions, you know what I mean, for everybody, for a particular classification.
The salary resolution provides a salary or a wage for a position.
It doesn't name.
It doesn't say how many.
Okay.
That's on the org chart only.
Okay, that's,
Let's just, you guys work it out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You
no,
guys-
that's fine.
You guys work it out and then bring it to us.
It'll be
Please.
87 cents an hour for one guy.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Project updates. First project is the Lloyd Circle and Belmont Court Stormwater Drainage Project. You have a project summary report here by Mr. Borsick. John and I went and looked at this this morning. In my assessment, this job is very well done, and it's complete. It's built exactly what the design Jeff Wright gave us. And maybe more importantly, it actually works when it rains.
Fantastic.
That being
Thanks,
said,
John.
good.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
That being said, I'd like to ask the board to execute the certificate of final completion for this job.
You have to vote on,
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah. So,
I'll make that motion.
second. Or is there any questions from the board? Can I get a second on it, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Please go ahead, Steve.
The White Ditch Dredge project, the culvert got delivered. It's gonna be probably August until they install it. And this job is probably gonna extend into next year, which is okay according to the grant agreement. Item C, US 12 and Custer, we opened the quote, one quote we received. Item D, the filter building control update. Shambaugh and Associates, who did all of the automation work for the DO controls on the aeration tanks, we called them out because they're experts in the same way that the other outfit that we had looked at it before. And they brought us a preliminary budget estimate that's about $50,000 less than the first outfit, but they want to come back one more time with an engineer and an estimator so that they can firm it up into a real quote. And I don't know if we'll have that by the 2nd. We might. Certainly the next meeting after that. So that looks very promising.
Steve, if I may just interject just a quick note that Shambaugh Associate, or son, did an exceptional job of assisting us in a difficult situation where we had an interruption of automated backwashing, and were able to address and solve the problem. Came out one day from Fort Wayne and then drove back again the next morning when it wasn't quite completely right. And now we're operating as it's designed with fully automatic
the guy basically put it back in order in 10 hours worth of time. And, he came for a sales call to start with, to look at it, try to estimate it. They put him to work right there. They said, I could fix this.
Well,
good. He did. That's great.
That's service.
Yeah.
Service with a smile.
Trinity Run, we're still waiting for dry weather on that. On the Carwick dump site, Weaver inspected the habitat restoration work on Monday this week. And we have a walkthrough scheduled with Woodruff and Weaver set for the week of June 6th. North End study, when we got the final report, I didn't put a copy in here because it's essentially exactly the draft that y'all looked at.
Okay.
But Jeff Ott came up, Mike Ott, and he gave us a very nice presentation to staff, including Jim Meyer, about what that report really means. And ultimately means we're in pretty decent shape compared to a lot of other cities, and probably most importantly, we're going to be in the same shape when the 2040 city master development plan is done. We're not going to use any more capacity than we're using right now, according to that study.
We have surplus capacity to handle what's proposed in the 2040 master plan. They build out as it is proposed in that master plan, which doesn't always happen. We should have capacity to handle it without having to do any large sewer project.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, that we had the capacity, so we're good.
Yes. Strebel Pond, nothing to update there yet. I haven't gotten an update from AES on that. The Strebel Pond lighting, we issued a notice of award and a construction contract to Marquis last week. And they're estimating 10 to 12 weeks for getting the materials to do the job, and then 3 days to complete the job.
And that's the two light posts, one on the north and one on the south.
Right, we're gonna get one post on each lot. That's gonna cost $8,040 for both.
Okay. Let me ask you a question on that. Do we pay the electricity on that?
Yes, and I think it's gonna be in the $20 a month range.
Okay.
300 North and US 421 sewer project is pretty far along with, John, do you care to speak to that at all?
Sure. T&M excavating the project, which runs 950 west, I believe it is, and 300 north. They've completed the 6-inch forced sewer main along 950. It has completed the 6-inch forced sewer line up into the lift station, which has been moved. It was originally proposed on the southeast corner of 421 and 300 North. Now it's a little farther east. Basically, it's in front of D&M Excavating. They've excavated a little bit for the lift station as of yesterday. They didn't work today because of the rain conditions. And that's your update.
Thank you, John. Energy savings report. The unadjusted savings for April were $7,935.96. The adjusted was $10,689.44. I'd like to call and that's shown on page 2 of 3 in the red numbers. 2022 April. See those figures there. I'd like to call your attention to the last page of the report there with the cost year-over-year savings that we've been able to achieve since the project was completed. The first year savings, and I'm pointing to this part right here, $56,000. The second year was $70,000. Third year was $95,000. And so far this year, we're on track for the fourth year to do $101,173. There's a couple things that are contributing to the improvement as we go along. We've been increasing the efficiency of the plant operation, and the capacitors and the power factor is important. The automated aeration tank DO controls was another one. We need less air to get the job done, so that's very nice. And then operational practices, like with the wet weather facility, we don't aerate that thing during peak hours. We just let it sit still. That's coming along nicely. Mr. Doyle made some good progress on at least one of these swag sites that we authorized him to work on. It's the Meyer Alley. Well, he's got a nice little design drawn up for a new storm sewer to drain that dip in the alley north to Harrison Street to our existing system. Item M, the repair sanitary on the Earl Road alley. We got the quote today. That's going to be roughly $42,000, and that's going to get paid for by a block grant. Next item N, the proposed land donation. Jim Michaels and Tony and I went out and looked at this parcel a week or two ago, and I don't see any major defects or any reasons why we shouldn't take it. Part of it adjoins a small parcel that we have along Hitchcock Street with frontage, so that would actually give us access to the northern triangle, and so I think it's worthwhile pursuing. I went through with the owners and did an access agreement you see here, and it turns out I used the wrong form, but I prepared a new form to make it between the owners and the sanitary district, and I sent that to the owner today, and she said, we're fine with this. So I expect to get that back post haste. And the second item on that is I'm recommending to Mike and you guys that we go ahead and do an environmental assessment on this thing before we take it.
I was going to ask that. I think we should.
The reason being is that if we do phase 1, and more likely at phase 2, we can get the pig without buying the poke. Okay? But if we don't do this before we take title, we get the poke along with the pig.
Can you make sure that's on?
To put it in legal terms, since Pope will not appear anywhere in the environment, the liability, if we take it without doing, this is called due diligence, doing phase 1, and if Tom recommends it, if you approve Tom, phase 2, you would be responsible for handling any environmental contamination that's required to be handled. at that location. If you do the phase 1 and the phase 2, number one, if you find a lot of contamination, you're probably not gonna take the property. But phase 2, due diligence would, in essence, prevent you from being responsible for the environmental contamination.
The other reason to do it is, even if it's contaminated, we still may elect to take it. It would maintain our eligibility to get something like a brownfield grant for a cleanup.
Right.
If we don't do the phase 1, that eligibility's out the window.
Yeah, I admit, definitely, that's what we gotta run with it. All right, so do we need to do anything on that?
It's
or-
$2,000. I don't think we need a board action. It's
The
$2,200.
general manager, the board can if it wants, but the general manager can approve it because it's less than 10,000.
I'd like to move to bless the pig in the poke.
You just wanted to say that, didn't you? Second? Is there a second? I'm not gonna refer to it. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion's approved.
There you go, Tom.
Tom, when I talk to you, I won't use that.
I appreciate it. You don't like it? Okay. It's environmental.
Yeah, it is. It's environmental.
You like it enough to use it?
All right,
Okay.
let's keep going.
Next item, land application. I didn't put the report in here, but in April, we shipped another 537 wet tons. Farmer paid us for the March and April bill already. That was $900 and something. That seemed to go quite well. Item P, amended resolution 1451-22, the lateral tap permit fees for nonprofit charities. After we approved this thing in its format last month, it kind of occurred to me that we needed to broaden its scope a little bit to include other domestic nonprofit corporations, because it turns out that a lot of these worthy charities aren't necessarily 501c3s. And so I'd like the board's approval to...
So Steve talked to me about this, and I asked him to go ahead and broaden it, because I think it's a good thing. So I'd like a motion on this to approve.
Move to approve amended resolution 1451-22.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't ask for any discussion, sorry. I just want to keep moving.
Go ahead. That's fine.
I think we discussed
talked
it
about
last
last time,
meeting
yeah.
extensively.
Yes.
Item Q, Brownfields grant. Bruce Carter and Associates applied for another round of the brownfields, and EPA is awarding us $400,450. So we can do stuff for redevelopment or for developers, all of it. There's no match on this.
That's great.
Yeah. Item R. I don't know if y'all notice when you come and go here, but like that parapet wall by the front door is leaning back about 6 inches. We're losing mortar from the joints.
I don't park my vehicles on that side.
Fortunately, if it falls, it ain't gonna fall on. It should fall back on the roof, and it should go sideways.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't want it to fall at all. All right.
Appreciate that.
So we had Global Engineering come out, and they've given us a proposal for a structural analysis. I'd like to ask the board's approval to move forward with this, even though I guess we don't need a board action on this because the general manager could approve that. It's under 10,000.
Let's, a motion to approve Global Engineering with their analysis. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a, all in favor? Aye.
Wait, thought you were jumping in there.
No,
Let you go on that.
All right.
Staff reports are in the packet. You can review those at your leisure.
Thank you.
There's one item I'd like to call out in my report, and it was the April 28th cormorant rescue. We had a group of people taking a tour of the plant, and I noticed this cormorant trapped inside outfall 001, and Kevin and Darren fished it out with the net.
Okay.
I was here for that.
Great, okay. That's my highlight, at least, from my monthly report. My report captures March and February.
Yeah.
Well, to submit that to the Audubon Society.
Yeah, you should. That shows the plant is very clean if you got a comber and then fishing around inside our plant, right?
Yeah, that's all I got.
It was tough.
Thank you.
No, it was trapped in between that.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. For your report.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Just nothing other than what we've already discussed today about Long Beach.
Okay.
Keeping up with that, and along communicating with bond counsel and with your financial consultant on all of those issues, and also the town attorney. Other than that, I don't know that there's any legal issue that we need to discuss, although I can answer any questions
So,
anybody might have.
anything from you guys right now? Any questions? So for the June 2nd meeting, we've got to move it now, if we're going to do that before we advertise, correct?
I'm trying to move it.
Well, not, if we want to have it at City Hall or someplace.
Oh, yeah.
Larger venue.
Yes.
So if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to direct staff to go ahead and check that out to see what's available.
Council chambers if possible.
Either that or the EOC. I mean, we don't need to sit up on the council and do the EOC if you want. Whatever you want to do.
Whatever you like, I just hear from
Whatever.
that council chambers is more conducive.
Okay, well, we can do that, I guess.
I'll find out tomorrow there.
Okay,
Might be a moot point for some of it.
yeah, okay. Thanks.
Sure.
So next on the agenda is approve and allow revenue and tax claims to be paid. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
I will second the motion.
Is there any questions, I guess, before on it? Hope you. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Any old business? Any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilman President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know I didn't speak during public comment because that was for the Long Beach folks. But what I would like to address is I want to thank Superintendent Vladovich and the board members for voting for the approval of the parking lot lights at Speedwell Pond. I brought that up, it seems probably 10 months ago after there was an issue out there with two male individuals being out there early in the morning and possibly, starting issues with some very early walkers that got out there before dawn. Because I know the sign says dawn to dusk, but to be proactive, we also have to have a little common sense and help out people that get out there a little bit earlier before they go to work to walk. So I'm very pleased, and I know that the chief of police will be pleased to hear, because he was behind getting this done also. They have lights put both in the north lot, south lot. I know the superintendent was speaking in favor of it, due to that restroom on the south lot and the destruction and things that go on down there. So again, for $20 a month, correct? Is that the NIPSCO pull on this?
Not much.
I don't think it's going to break the district for $20 a month, and I appreciate the fact that you guys invested $10,000 into putting those lights out there. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman Pawlowski. Any new business? Any new business? Any new business? All right.
Do you want to?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we had.
Thank you, though.
Right.
Well, that's what I figured if we would have. All right, so I'm going to ask.
So you know the board does in public comment at the beginning.
I know, I saw.
Okay. So, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I like being here, but I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We stand adjourned, gentlemen. We have a meeting now scheduled for June 2nd at 4 PM. Staff will let us know where that's going to be. And then we have our regular meeting on June 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you.